So for my final film project, I watched the Czech drama film Kolya. This film was directed by John Sfera, who is the son of the lead actor, Zdeněk Sfera, who plays Luka. The two most notable awards that this film has won are the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and the Golden Globe Award for Best Foreign Language Film. There weren't many tweets about this film because it came out in 1996, but I did find some interesting ones. One that uses different moments from the film with the message "Open your door to our Ukrainians" as a part of the Czech government campaign, which plays a few scenes throughout this film. And another tweet that I thought was interesting that said some of the humor gets lost in translation, which there are funny scenes in this film, but it would be very interesting to be able to watch it through the eyes of the language that this film is spoken in, because I'm sure there's a lot that I missed. Because when translating, not all the jokes can always get across. But this film begins by introducing our main character, Luka, who is a cellist. And he originally was playing for a very well-known orchestra, but now he is playing for funerals, very small funerals, not overly successful, and he's a bachelor. It's mentioned multiple times that his father taught him that if he wants to be a successful musician, that he can't have a family. And so I think that's why we see him living as a bachelor, not necessarily that he doesn't want a family, but he's lived his life with the idea that he will never be able to have that as long as he wants to be a successful cellist. And so this is the cemetery that he works at, and I found a link that describes some of the differences between Czech Republic funeral customs versus ours. And it is very interesting the way that the funerals are held that we see in this film, as there's these two humongous doors that open up as the coffin is kind of rolled in there into like a dark abyss, and I've never seen anything like that, but it's very interesting. And that's where he plays cello as of the beginning of the film. And at first, I did not like Luka because he's a little bit of a pervert. He kind of makes advances on women who aren't really there for that reason at first, but the thing is that they would always eventually kind of fall for him, despite the fact that he's much, much older than them. I don't know. But at the end, of course, I ended up liking Luka, but anyways, the main political problem in this film is that this takes place in 1988 during the Soviet occupation, and as a result, the Czech Republic is housing many Russian soldiers, and throughout this film we see Russian soldiers constantly traveling between Russia and the Czech Republic. The plot revolves around the cross-cultural tensions between both Russians and Czech. The main political conflict comes into play when Luka marries this woman, Irina, and she wants the Czech Republic citizenship, and Luka needs money, and so it kind of works out that they get married. And of course, Luka is initially very hesitant to marrying her because he is kind of self-proclaimed anti-Russian. He refuses to learn Russian. He doesn't want anything to do with Russian people. But regardless of this, they get married. And throughout the film, it's constantly something that worries Luka, that he's going to get caught, that he's only married this woman so that she can get a citizenship. But she actually has a Russian son, and she leaves for a lover in Germany, leaving her son alone with her mother, who very shortly after dies of a stroke, and that results in him having to stay with Luka. And at first, Kolya does not speak to Luka, they don't speak the same language, and he obviously feels very uncomfortable around him as he's a stranger. His mother only married him for a citizenship, and so it's a little bit awkward at first. They dislike each other because, Kolya is Russian, Luka is Czech, and so we see their relationship start out with a rocky start. And at first he tries to put him on his mother. Luka tries to give Kolya to his mother to take care of instead of himself. But his mother is even more anti-Russian than he is. There's a scene where Kolya is looking out the window at Russian soldiers, and he gets so excited because he's a little boy seeing his own soldiers from his country. He goes outside there and talks to them in Russian, and she immediately finds out that this boy is not Czech, he is Russian, and she wants absolutely nothing to do with him. And so Luka has to keep him further, and there's another scene where there are 2 flags that he is required to put up by his landlady for a political parade and rally that's coming through. And so Kolya has not spoken a word to Luka until this moment when he sees one of his flags, both of their flags side by side one another. And I think Kolya kind of believes that this is for him. And it's a really kind of cute scene of this. I was just going to play just this tiny snippet of it. He points out to his flag, "Ours is beautiful." And it's the very first thing that he says to him. And obviously Luka doesn't really like that because he's not a fan of Russians, but, you know. So, one of the main themes in this film is death. As Kolya's grandmother passes away, it's not really Luka's job to tell him what happened, it's more his mother's job, but no one really ever explains to Kolya what happened to his grandmother other than telling her that she was just asleep. And one of the saddest moments in this film is when Kolya is in the bath, pretending to be on the phone with his grandma. He's crying, sobbing, pretending he's on the phone, telling her that he misses her. And one thing that's interesting about this scene to me is that he only calls for his grandma. He never once mentions his mom, which is surprising to me. Kind of shows that the mother maybe wasn't really there for him very well compared to the grandmother. I mean, as she has left him for her lover in Germany. So it's interesting to me that he never says a word about his mom. He's not like, "Where's my mom?" He only cares about where his grandma is. But later on we see Kolya mimicking his adult figure, Luka, as Luka plays the cello, and he buys him a little violin, and while Luka plays the cello, he plays his little violin. But another thing is that we see Kolya reenacting the funerals that he witnesses that Luka plays at. And it's just kind of interesting because he doesn't actually really know what death is. He's only 5, but he's kind of replaying like what he sees. He puts him into a box, he draws a little cross on it, and then he pushes it through the door. It's just like how their funerals go. So this is Luka's girlfriend. It's kind of the main girlfriend. He has multiple, but this is like the main one. And it plays a part in the ending. And so the film actually kind of ends with Kolya being taken away by his mother. His mother finally returns. Of course, it's very sad because you want to see them live together forever because it's so sweet. Their relationship really grows. But of course, he can't really stay with Luka as he's not his real father. They only married for specific reasons. So Kolya gets taken away back to Germany. And the film kind of ends with a pretty hopeful future for Luka, as at the end he's playing back with his big orchestra. His girlfriend Clara up above is pregnant, so he may be being a father in the soon future. And one interesting thing in this film is that Luka's playing for the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra, who is being conducted by Raphael Kubelik, and he began conducting at age 19. He's a very famous conductor and music writer. And this is a website. I'm not going to click on it because it's a little bit sketchy, a lot of ads, but it shows a lot of the filming locations throughout the Czech Republic that this movie was filmed at. It's very interesting. This is one of them. Ustek Square. This is where Luka's mother lived. And yeah, it's very interesting to see all the different locations that it was filmed at. And this is another website, Visual Parables. It mentions the psalm that is being sung first at the beginning by Carla, and then later by Kolya when he's doing his little funeral with his toys. And it's just an interesting article about different visual parables. And so I think my reflective response for this is that the human condition is portrayed throughout this film as these 2 men or boys initially dislike each other due to their differences. They don't speak the same language, but over time they become very close and attached to one another. Both need each other just as much as the other one does. And their unlikely friendship portrays the human's need for connection and intimacy. But my personal response, I really love this film. It was really great seeing two people who initially dislike each other grow such a close and sweet relationship. And I really liked that. It was hard seeing them separated at the end because you really do want them to stay with one another, but of course that can't really be how it is. But they do both rely on one another because, I mean, first we see Luca start out as a bachelor, no want for children, no want for a wife, no want for anything but his own selfish gain. And there is a scene where Carla is with them taking care of Kolya when he is sick, and she tells Luca, I never thought you could be not selfish or look out for anyone's needs but yourself. And he said, neither did I. And he's changed so much because of Kolya. And additionally, Kolya has had a father figure in his life for a few months. And additionally, he's gotten a lot of care and attention, considering that it doesn't seem like his mother really, I don't want to say she doesn't care about him, but leaving him alone with her mother for Germany, kind of a shock thing to do. But my review is that I love this movie. It was great. Definitely worth the watch. I'm really glad that I chose this movie. And it's for free on YouTube. I definitely suggest it. It was really sweet. And, yeah, it's a really good movie. So, thank you for watching.